Hey, what's up, everybody? It's another edition of 95X Live. I am Dixon, joined today by one of my favorite new bands of 2022 from Youngstown, Ohio, now calling Columbus home. We are joined by James, Ethan, and Dan of Spirit of the Bear. Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing great. Thank
Uh,
you
Doing
for
good.
having me.
Feeling
First and
very
foremost,
happy.
thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. We've had some technical glitches along the way. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this one works. So
Looking good so far.
Live on the Sun is the new single. I'm going to put a pin in that. We'll circle back. Um, you've heard me say this 3 times now. Here's the fourth take on it. Being in radio, doing the specialty thing, I listen to about 100 songs a week. I typically download 20. I pare that 20 down to 8 or 9 that get added every week. And with both singles, both Wires and Live on the Sun, they were no brainers. They hit me in a way that new music really is not able to do lately. Like there's a lot of very same sounding stuff that's going on at our format, and I love the fact that you guys have such a unique take. Um, the immediate first thing that came to my mind was Glass Animals, right? Like this is like kind of an American take on Glass Animals, but in some ways too, it's almost like, hey, what if Kevin from Tame Impala had like this huge American soul influence? And in both of those cases, it truly defines what I hear from listeners when they ask about Spirit of the Bear, and seeing the Shazam numbers in Syracuse from getting these songs on the air has been very heartwarming for me. Where would you say your musical inspiration or influence lies? And am I in the right range of descriptive, like sort of brother bands?
I would definitely say you're on the money, especially like, and this is sort of a thing that we've been coming across a lot lately as like new people are discovering us because we just signed our first deal last year. So like things have been growing and growing, but really like we've been doing this as a band for several years. It's like the classic of like thing that Dan, you said this to me once, like every success story, every overnight success story is like 10 years in the making, right? So like we've really been a band for quite a while, and it's funny to hear that because like this new EP for us was like our, oh, let's try a different sound like thing, and then this just happens to be like the first thing that a lot of people are hearing. So but I liked what you said about like if Tame Impala or Glass Animals had like an American soul uh, influence, right? Because this whole EP, we sat down and we listened to the demos we had, and we were like, there's kind of like a '70s thing going on that has been sort of like building in our catalog for the past few years, where we'll just like sprinkle in like a little bit of '70s influence. In this EP, we were like, let's just like really lean into that, especially for Wires was sort of the big like, let's just do this like '70s like psychedelic disco song basically. And so yeah, I think definitely it's super super cool to hear you talk about it in that way.
I mean, I'm an older guy, right? So like, yeah, I grew up late '70s, early '80s, fully addicted to Stax Records, Motown, and then somehow ended up thrust into the hardcore scene in Syracuse because Syracuse is sort of like the East Coast mecca for hardcore music. But my taste is very wide ranging. So like, Wires has that really amazing saxophone part to it that is like one of those things that just grabs you immediately. I know that like in my, trying to find some information on the internet about you guys, there's a certain group of people that use this term yacht rock that I don't really understand really, but like you guys have sort of been thrust into that world, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because that's where like young people are really like discovering music that has these '70s and '80s tinges
Mm-hmm.
to them. Where do you think your niche within the alternative world is? Is it sort of adjacent to what the Coachella and Bonnaroo crowd are referring to as yacht rock?
That's tricky. I think I don't know if either of you have more thoughts than me on this, but I'm not against the the yacht rock label. Like I'm down with yacht rock. I can listen to some Hall and Oates or some Steely Dan, all day. But I wouldn't call. I understand like Wires, especially being like yacht rocky, but I would say typically we're more in the lane of like Young the Giant or like you know like Tame Impala, kind of a little bit less psychedelic, but that alternative indie rock. But we use a lot of synthesizers.
Well, there's a explorative nature to what you guys are doing, I think, where you're pushing boundaries of what some established bands have done in sort of blurring the lines of musical genre, right? And I think that's what alternative in 2022 should be doing, right? Like, I think that, like, and I go through this all the time within the industry, that alternative isn't really adjacent to rock anymore, right? Like, there was this time period in the 90s when you were all very, very, very young or weren't born yet,
Probably
where
not.
like, you know, Pearl Jam and Nirvana and all of these bands were labeled as alternative, where maybe in the sense of the root word of alternative, it was an alternative to the rock that was happening at the time.
Hmm.
But to me, like, when I think about alternative in that era, it's more about bands like REM, right? It's more about bands like The Cure. And it's strange because, like, there's parts of what you guys do a little bit that I hear from, like, the Disintegration era of The Cure, right? But at the same time, I also hear like Al Green. So, like, the fact that you guys are being able to really truly focus in on what could be a new American style of modern alternative music is what has me so excited.
I'm glowing.
Yeah, that really is like such high praise, and it is really cool to hear that from someone that isn't like our parents or you know like our close friends or something. Which it's not like we're just like our parents are our only fans at this point, but it's just really really cool to hear that from just someone like yourself who's just someone who found us via a radio show.
Absolutely.
And dug in too.
Yeah, I'm such a fan, and I think there's some distinct connection, because I feel like Youngstown and Syracuse aren't too far away from each other in both demographics, and I mean, we're both sort of in that Rust Belt, right? We're in
Yeah.
that sort of like range of like 85 to 120 size market. It's a bigger city that still has kind of a small town feel. What was the journey like being a Youngstown, Ohio band? Is there a music scene there? And, you know, was it a conscious effort to move to a larger place like Columbus to get a better footing? Or was it just something where you guys had sort of outgrown your hometown?
It it honestly, we started in high school, all in Youngstown and Boardman. So it honestly was the changes that happened in location and time too, were partly from like professional careers and trying to develop out in different ways other than the band, but still trying to maintain it. But going back to that point about Youngstown, I agree, and I do believe that there is actually a pretty vibrant music scene in Youngstown. I don't think we would have been able to, in high school, get ourselves out there and start to play at such a young age, and then to continue that for years on in our hometown. So and it's still there today. I see changes every time I go back from Columbus to where they're trying to make the city more promotive of live activities, live music, and more activity downtown. But Danny could definitely attest to that a little bit more, I think.
So two things. One being, I think there's something really special, and again, like Rust Belt areas that historically have been areas of, like, working class people, where there's this energy of like music has always been the escape for the people around here, like their grandparents, their grandparents, their grandparents. And so there's I think this is present in a lot of the Rust Belt, and again, like working class areas, where just the level of musicianship, like the average level of musicianship is so high because it's being passed down in a different way than it just being a hobby. It was, I think, a lot of people's escape.
To real quick interject to that point, like you mentioned earlier, the Wires saxophone solo at the end, like my dad played that, you know? So like that whole Youngstown lineage music scene thing is there. Like my dad was born and raised in Youngstown. He taught me everything I know. You know, he went to Youngstown State and like studied music and everything. And he's just one of the most incredible musicians I know still. And so when we, you know, we're doing this song, I was like, it was a no brainer, like have my dad do the sax part and like keep that Youngstown tie and keep that family tie strong, you know.
I loved the video you guys posted of him coming up and playing it with you live too.
It is
fun.
it is the most viewed video we've ever posted on Instagram now to this day.
I'm a huge fan. So let's fast forward to today, where Live on the Sun is getting playlisted. You're getting placements. I'm seeing more and more people in my world of specialty radio being attracted to the song, playing the song. You mentioned an EP. Is there a release date on the books for the EP?
Not specifically. I think we had an idea, and we've talked recently about just sort of giving the singles a little bit more time to breathe because they have been doing so well. But you know, that being said, like we have a tour lined up this summer for the EP, so we're trying to kind of weigh our options with that. But yeah, it'll be out this summer.
Very cool. Now you mentioned tour. When does the tour kick off? And are you doing a full US run? You sticking to the East Coast primarily, or what does your summer tour look like?
So it'll primarily be around cities that are in the Midwest and also going a little bit to the East Coast too. We'll be doing it for out the most of June, my bad. And it'll wrap up. It will start in June 9th in Columbus, and it'll end on July 13th, I believe.
13th or 14th. Chicago is the last date.
In Chicago. So,
but it's just like 8 shows. Just kind of us getting ourselves out there for this EP. But we do have I don't know if we're like allowed to announce it or talk about it.
To come soon.
We have a big tour planned for this fall where we will be going many, many more places.
Very cool. Hopefully one of those stops will be somewhere within driving distance of Syracuse, because you guys officially got added to my list of bucket list bands that I need to see. So
incredible.
I get to cross a bunch of those off this summer, but I think that any audience that is exposed to you guys are going to become instant fans. So I'm hoping that this fall tour takes you some places that you haven't been before and puts you in front of some people that really get turned on to the music the way that I have been, and that I see a small burgeoning fan base on internet also really starting to grasp onto Spirit of the Bear. My guess is that by this time next year, things are going to have exploded for you guys. I think you're on to something. I think Live on the Sun is a very viable single for radio. I think that if radio could sort of like get out of their own way and focus on good upstart young bands, and instead of tired old bands that seem to continually put out the same sounding things over and over again, that there'd be an explosion, so to speak, for you guys. I think that you're truly on to something that's really groundbreaking in the world of alternative music, and the fact that it's coming out of a city that I think has a kinship to our own here in Syracuse is a great thing and might open some eyes. So first of all, congratulations on everything that you guys have achieved so far. I look forward to the future. And I do want to ask about one thing. I'll let you guys just kind of explain it, because I think it's a fantastic idea. Talk to me about Bummer Club.
you want me I got it.
Yeah,
So,
take it away.
Honestly, we've always had like a very, very strong, close-knit group of like fans, and we've really like become friends with them and kind of just build on that relationship over like the past 4 to 5 years, and from that point we've just kind of wanted to expand on it and kind of create like a platform to where we can like actively communicate with those who want to like hear more about us. I mean, we love talking about the band and what we're doing and what's up and coming, and Bummer Club is that place. currently, as it stands, it's we have like a Discord chat with a bunch of people that actively like we talk to, try to give them updates and behind the scenes info. And then in addition, we're also trying to plan and coordinate events with everybody just so we can have like some hangout time. And we always ask like kind of what they want to see from us and what they want to hear, which we try to provide. So it's just another space for if anybody's interested and wants to learn more and hang out with others who like our sound. It's the spot. So
very cool. And that's all available right on your website. All the information and links are there. And I give you guys a lot of credit for that, because in 2022 post-pandemic, you know, I don't want to, maybe not post-pandemic, as we're coming out of the pandemic, right? Like, you know, it's very cool for me to see a band that wants to have that sort of interaction with a fan base. You know, there's too many artists, in my opinion, that put themselves up and above their audience. And the fact that you guys have this ability and real passion for connecting with the people that have connected to your music speaks to who you guys are as an artist and also who you are as people. And that to me is a very endearing thing and really kind of like fortifies the earnest nature of what you're doing with your art. I adore what you're doing. I think that 2022 is going to be the year of Spirit of the Bear. And man, I can't say thank you enough to you guys for taking the time to do this today. I'm looking very forward to what the future holds. And I will say this, until the EP comes out, I'm just going to play Live on the Sun until there's a new single every Sunday night, or until the single pops off and I can play it whenever I want on the air.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, we really appreciate like everything you're doing, you know, to help out us, and like I'm sure many other bands like us as well. Like coming from Ohio, I think we're pretty lucky to have some really supportive alternative stations as well, which I know is like not always the case. But like here in Columbus, we have CD 92.9, which formerly CD 102.5, but they're like they've been playing us and they're super supportive. Growing up in Youngstown, we had the Summit, which is a super locally driven alternative station. So yeah, it's just great to see it happening elsewhere also.
Very cool. Well, check these guys out. It's spiritofthebear.com. You can also search Spirit of the Bear across social media. Join the Bummer Club. Get a whole bunch of information, behind the scenes looks, and help support these guys on their journey to the top of the alternative heap. Gentlemen, James, Ethan, Dan, can't thank you enough for taking the time today. I look very forward to what the rest of 2022 and the future holds for you guys. And hopefully we can connect again soon.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Once again, this is 95X Live.